What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Mongol Show, sponsored by Roughneck Scarves. I'm Mike. With me is Kevin Josh. The Hounds drew 1-1 with Hartford this weekend. We saw some good and some bad, and, we're going to talk about it. But first, guys, how's it going? Kev, how was your weekend?
It's good. The in-laws visited. I hugged my first person that wasn't my wife for 14 months. That was really weird. But yeah, it was good. It was good seeing them. It was good seeing other humans, fully vaccinated and everything. Ate out at a patio at a restaurant for the first time in 14 months. That was wild. Yeah, it was a good weekend.
Good. Josh, how about you?
Good. Yeah, I was on the local television.
Yes, you were.
Fan Nation, KDKA. We had recorded that interview a while ago, probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And turns out when you record about half an hour worth of an interview, they can find at least a minute worth of footage to use to make a spot for you and not make you look like an idiot. So that was pretty good. I was happy with it.
Good. I thought it was a good spot.
Yeah,
they said that the Steel Army was like the craziest fans in Pittsburgh, which is pretty accurate. I mean, can't really dispute that. So good. Got to give a shout out to Pitt's men's team, who unfortunately fell to Indiana in the College Cup. I watched the game. Pitt was dominant throughout. They are definitely
just couldn't score.
Yeah, exactly. But played really, really well. Definitely going to be a team to watch over the next few years. As you can see, got my Pitt scarf hanging up. I absolutely love the crest. By the way, I got a t-shirt with the crest as well. I would love to hang some other local scarves and teams and stuff back here. So Hotspurs, Tartan Devils, anybody else that we've talked to, if you guys got scarves, let me know. And we'll get them up on the wall here. But yeah, otherwise, guys, we got Hound stuff. One other thing that I wanted to mention, we threw this out on Twitter late, right before we got started. Our buddy Hugh Roberts, who we're going to be seeing this weekend, he announced that they are selling backyard footy tees. So for those of you who don't know, who are sort of new to our show, we've talked about this a ton. Hugh has his own show, Backyard Footy, that he sort of started through BGN with us. We sort of helped him get it started, but he's doing amazing stuff in the Charlotte area. And he actually started a charity called Footy's Got You. And so all of the t-shirts that he sells, it looks like they're $20. Proceeds from the sale are going to go towards the Footy's Got You charity, and that promotes awareness of the economic crisis in the Charlotte area. So here's the deal. During the episode, this episode, leave a comment live, and what we'll do is, whether it makes it on air or not, we'll sort of make a list of everybody that's made a comment, and we'll sort of do a blind pick at the end of the episode. And if we pick your name, you'll get a free t-shirt on us. We will get one of the Backyard Footy shirts. We'll have it sent to you, and obviously proceeds will go towards Hugh's Footy's Got You charity. So figure that's a cool way to support Hugh and hopefully spur some conversation here.
They look really cool too. I saw the pictures of the shirts. It's stylish.
Yeah. If you are interested in getting a shirt of your own and supporting Hugh's organization, head over to backyardfooty.org. So leave some comments. With that out of the way, guys, the Hounds drew 1-1 with Hartford. We got a goal from Russell Cicerone. I'm just going to turn it over.
Cicerone?
It is Cicerone. I looked it up.
Okay. Cicerone. Apologies. Yes. Give me a takeaway, Josh. What are your thoughts on this one?
That was a good first half. It was a fun first half to watch. And if only the game was only 45 minutes long, it would have been a great game to watch.
That could be part of the new Super League conversations, right? They're trying to make it more digestible, more for the youth oriented, 45-minute games, everything's intense. Do line change subs.
Wait. Why would it be youth oriented? Are you saying us old people can't sit for a full 90? Is that what
I think that's what a lot of the European CEOs think.
It's the other way around. I think he's saying the youth can't watch a whole game because it's you just get bored after a while. It's like the TikTok generation.
We got to TikTokify soccer. Yeah.
Yes. We have to TikTokify soccer.
Yeah. The first half was definitely more entertaining. I think the first half was what we were sort of looking for last weekend when we said we wanted to see some progress. Kev, what were your thoughts? Give me a takeaway here.
I thought we saw progress. I don't even think the second half was that bad. I mean, it wasn't as good as the first, but it was. It could. I mean, I think in a tight spot, especially in the red card that we'll talk about in a bit later, and trying to manage the game away from home from a team that has won the first 2 games and has looked pretty decent for it. So yeah, I mean, a lot of positives. I thought Dixon showed a lot more in this game. The front 3 as a whole, I think, is starting to show a lot more in this game. I have to give it to you, Mike. Fine. Yep. Todd Wharton came in and made a difference. And I thought going to the back 4, at least at the start, proved well for this game. It was good to see another man in the midfield, and everything was working a lot more. I think I'll stop here after this one. We talked a lot about in previous seasons where usually a good indication for, I'll just say Lily teams, but for us in general, and really for any team, when you can start getting more than 2 bodies in the box during a build up and attack, that's good signs that you're aggressive, you're wanting to attack, and yeah, it gives you more opportunity to score. And pretty regularly, we were getting at least 3, if not like 4 bodies in the box when we're getting balls out wide, and the likes of Dixon or Dover or we're trying to find bodies, and we just didn't connect well enough. But yeah, positive. That's really what I wanted to see from the Tampa game. A step in the right direction. I think we got that.
So it was a step in the right direction in the first half. And then it felt like, and I have a lot of other positives I want to talk about here, but step in the right direction in the first half. It felt like we came out in the second half and we were trying to play for the 1-0 win, or at least that's how I sort of interpreted it. So Kev, after that progress in the first half, do you feel disheartened that, I don't say we took a step back in the second half, but it felt like a different team?
Yeah, but I think, part of that, I think Hartford played better in the second half, and I think naturally when Hartford raised their game, it makes it more difficult for us. I think we tired a bit, and that doesn't help us. And yeah, it felt like when we immediately didn't come out with the pedal to the floor, and at least for me, I'll put words in Lily's mouth here. When you're seeing us not going full throttle for a bit, things are a bit cagey, things are a bit tight, we're away from home against a good team, I don't think it's ridiculous to then say, okay, we haven't been great the past 15 minutes. We'll make a sub, change the system a bit, and try to be more counter-attacky in the last 30 to 25 minutes away from home against a pretty decent team. Especially because there's a history of us being pretty decent at that. Maybe not necessarily with the squad of players, but so I don't think it's ridiculous. Once again, we're 3 minutes away from walking away saying, yeah, he caught it perfectly. We get out of there with a 1-0 win away from home against a good team, and especially this early in the season. To get 3 points and to have an improvement of play from last week, that's what I would be looking for.
Well, hold on. Wait a second. Okay. So now we're talking about 2 different things here, because we said coming into this game that what was important to us was we wanted to see progress, even if we lost. And now you're saying we saw progress in the first half, but if we get 3 points, even though we didn't really do anything in the set, we locked it down in the second half. Is locking it down fine. Progress?
Yeah, why not? You can defensive is a tactic. Counterattacking is a tactic. And I'm not saying I think if we go through an entire season with 30% possession and all our games end in 0-0 or 1-0, sure, fine. That's not entertaining. That's not what I want to see, even if we finish, in the playoff position. So much of this just goes back to, in my mind, I just want to get through these first 5 games. And I expect to see a team that's a lot more well-oiled in the late, in the late beginning part of this season. Because that's the other thing that gives me hope. I really believe, especially after this game, I think our individual players have shown to me so far that the individual components in my mind are better than what we had last season. Just from the touches and the movement, there's something there that to me, I believe that this group of at least starting 11 is probably a bit higher quality than the starting 11 we had last season.
I think what's encouraging to me, and then Josh, I want to see if you agree with Kev, just on that player aspect. I think especially later in the game prior to Kenny's red, what it almost felt like was anytime you build a team, you almost always want to have a solid core right up the middle. And it felt like when we had 4 at the back, you had Kenny dropping deeper to try to take the ball right off the D and play it forward. So you had Kenny sort of taking command in front of the D. You had Danny Griffin, who was sort of taking command a little bit further up the field in the midfield. And then you had Russell Cicerone, who was sort of taking command up front at the forward. And I think all 3 of those guys, and even Dequa, when Dequa came in, I know everyone likes to say, oh, Mike doesn't like Dequa. When Dequa came in, he did a pretty good job holding up the ball and pulling other guys into the play. So I think if you have that core, that spine of those players, I feel pretty good about sort of whoever else you drop in around them contributing in different ways. So I agree. I think this was a good game where we saw some of those players start to show a lot more of what they're made of that we didn't see in the last game. But Josh, do you agree that, what we saw in the second half was like, yeah, it's fine?
No, I don't think it was a good idea at all. Like, you have Vitiello getting a yellow card for time wasting within the first, what was it, the 53rd minute?
Yeah.
That to me, if your keeper is time wasting that early in the second half, that's not good. Like, that's not a tactic I think I can get behind. It's like, I understand if it's like the last 15 minutes of that second half, like, okay, you're trying to park the bus, you're trying to get, squeak it out. But like, there's still like a whole half to play and you're already trying to waste time. You're already trying to run the clock down. No, like, I don't think that's a good tactic. And I don't think it helped us at all. Like, if anything, if we would have been still pressing in the second half or in the first, from like we were doing in the first half, I feel like that would have been putting Hartford on the, on their back foot, and it would have been easier to keep that lead. And you also had the possibility of netting, another one and having a little bit of a buffer there. Like, I can't imagine thinking like, hey, let's go into the second half and completely shut the whole game down like that. Like, and our defense isn't good enough for that. Like, I don't think our defense is good enough to shut the game down like we used to do. And I just did not get the tactics of that. I didn't know if that was like, it had to be a command from on high, right? Like, that can't just be the players being like video is not being like, I'm going to go do my own thing here and just going to start wasting time.
I think it was Vitiello. I remember a specific moment where Vitiello was like moving the ball around or whatever, and I saw Lily on the sideline like throw his hands up, like, what are you doing, kind of thing. So okay. I don't know. Yeah.
And, well, that could also be a situation where, not a good sign, but the team playing scared. Like, if you have that lead and, as a team, you're like, hey, we just got our butts kicked last week, 3-0. Like, you feel like the need to, like, okay, let's just not lose this lead. Let's not like screw this up. So then you have a team playing scared, which is also not good. So like, it was so frustrating that second half, and we don't have the defense, or at least yet, like, they're not gelling right yet, where we can park the bus for 45 minutes. It just was not, granted, I mean, they didn't score until we lost a player. And then even when they did score, it was because of a crap call, if you ask me. But
we'll get there. We'll get
there. I just don't agree with the tactic of time wasting the whole second half. And I feel like that really did not help us at all. And it wasn't just Vitiello, because it did feel like we weren't really putting pressure on the team, to actually score that second half. And maybe it was because Hartford was playing a little bit better than they were the first half, but it didn't feel like it. It felt like we were in our own defense most of that time.
I mean, it feels like to me that, the argument that the best defense is a good offense, I think that's sort of what we saw in that first half, right? When we're passing the ball around, we clearly have the offensive depth to do that kind of thing. Whereas I think we had one center back on the bench, on D, and we had Danny Rivera, who we sort of sub in wherever. So we clearly don't have the defensive depth. When we started with 4 in the back, but Dover's actual position on the field was much more like a midfielder. So we were basically 3 at the back the whole time. So yeah, Kev, what was your assessment of the defense? You figure we basically had Preston Kilwine, Shane White, and Mikael Williams across the back.
I mean, I thought they were fine. See, that's the other thing. Like, I agree with the time wasting thing, and I agree that that could be indications of us playing a bit scared and hesitant. But I don't think we were time wasting. Like, from the start of the second half, I don't think we were time wasting and parking the bus. Like, we never dropped to like a back 6. We weren't 11 men into the box just defending for our lives most of the time. And so if I'm trying to give benefits of the doubts here, it could just be we're away from home. We look tired, and he's thinking, you know what? Let's just take a bit of this thing out of the game. Let's calm it down. Let's give everyone a breath. I mean, it was notable for me in the second half. I forget what the timestamp on it was, but I remember there was it was either a foul or something, but Vitiello had the ball. And no, it wasn't a foul. It was like Vitiello, it was like a bad shot or whatever, and Vitiello picked up the ball. And immediately the camera was far out enough, and every single one of our players just starts walking. Like, no one was running to get into positions. No one was running to try to make transition happen. No one was doing that. And in my mind, I was like, that's not right. Like, you need to be trying to capitalize on every moment, and that means trying to find space quickly, trying to transition quickly, trying to catch Hartford out. And none of our players were doing that. So on one hand, also it's like, what do you want Vitiello to do? Like, immediately roll it out to somebody. So I think there was a lot of contributing factors. I don't think it was as clear cut as just them being like, all right, we're just going to kill time for 45 minutes. I think it was a bit more nuanced than that. That being said, I think really my only criticism around the defense right now is I'm not convinced that they have any interest in trying to recycle possession. Every time, not every time, but a lot of the time, there was a moment where I think we were trying to transition, or we won the ball back, or when we were trying to break, but we didn't really have a lot of players forward. People were walking. It was just Dixon and Williamson up top. And so Dixon just kind of stopped, turned around, dropped the ball back to Griffin. And it was a little nervy, but not really. We had enough players and we have the technical ability to play our way out of that. And that wasn't a problem. And Griffin kind of he's controlling it, and he passes back to one of our defenders, and they just boot it without even thinking. There was no indication of all right, yep, let's try to keep it. Let's try to recycle it. And so I think that's my only worry. They're great in the air. Apart from Hartford's goal from the set piece, but so in that sense, I think they're fine. But my only I worry about us trying to really kind of dominate possession.
So if they're scared, or not scared, sorry, if they're tired, I don't understand. Then we didn't get any subs right away in the second half. If the team was playing and looking dogged, what do we have? Our subs came in. Looks like the 65th minute about. And that's when Williamson came out and Dixon came out. We have 5 subs. You have plenty of opportunities to, if the guys are looking tired. Now, this could be an issue of more of the fact that the bench is not as good as the players on the field. So it's do you sub out tired guys for guys that might not be on the level, even with our guys being tired? But I think we do have some level or some, options on the bench. So I don't know. I don't think maybe they were just walking because they knew they had plenty of time because video was wasting so much time. They're like, oh, don't worry, we got a couple minutes.
Chicken and the egg.
That's right. Let's talk about the I don't want to say the play that changed the game, because I think there were actually 2 plays that changed the game a little bit. I think one was the red card against Kenny, the straight red card, and it happened in the 78th minute. And I'll ask you guys each. Josh, do you think that warranted a straight red?
I don't think it warranted a straight red. I do think there was something there. Like a lot of people in the live chat on Discord, we were talking, and there's a couple of like, oh, he didn't even touch him. Like his foot didn't even come down on him. It's like it did. Like it came down on the player, but it wasn't a stomp. Like they kept on calling a stomp. Like no, that was him walking backwards, and he stepped on him, which I will give you that much. Yeah. I think it was a yellow at most, especially like wasn't it a foul against him to begin with? That that whole thing came from. Yeah. So like the guy who causes a foul doesn't get anything. And then Forbes gets a straight red. And it's like, come on, that's BS. Like,
yeah. Kev, do you agree?
Yeah, and I think it's one of those where, like, I don't know, if we had VAR, would that change stuff? It might have. I feel like in that scenario where a lot's happening, at that point, a lot of bodies have already crowded the ref. Like, and it's kind of hard to see. You see the reaction from the Hartford player, and you assume stuff, but. No, it was one of those moments of dark art wizardry that really annoys me. He kicks out at Kenny. Kenny reacts, and I went back and I like tried to do the like play pause like a lot to try to see like, okay, first of all, does Kenny headbutt him? He doesn't. He just like chest bumps him and gets close to his face. Guy goes down holding his face. And Kenny like just backs up. And yeah, I completely agree with Josh's assessment on it. And then the other thing that kind of annoys me is like, I'm reading into this because I'm a biased Hounds fan that wants to protect Kenny and the players and everything. But it honestly, to me, looks like Hartford's player tries to play off a reaction to a stamp by swinging his leg around and kicking Kenny. And like, which... To me, that was pretty like, but I mean, you can't call anything, but like that looked pretty obvious. Yeah, so it's really annoying. It wasn't a red, but I can see how a mistake is made on the field. We're gonna get worse calls against us, I think. I mean, that was an important call. I don't think we lose that game if we go down if Kenny doesn't get the red. And yeah, we just. Have to move on from it, I think. But the last thing I was really happy about the level of like camaraderie that the team showed around that incident. I mean, one, to back up your player like that, and two, I think it was Josh Gatt wouldn't leave the ref alone, and I loved that. It was so easy for a professional like a professional like him. To just be like, all right, new guy here. This is did he even get game time last game against Tampa?
He got a few minutes against Tampa.
He came on late.
So, I mean, and to come on again as a sub, he can be like, I should be starting, blah, blah, blah. To have that level of like, you were so wrong, like, and all this. And he was, he wasn't the acting captain, of course, at that point. So that was encouraging to me. And to see them kind of huddle, like, all right, Kenny's gone, what do we do? Like, kind of thing. Like, that was all really good.
I forget who we interviewed. Was it Dover that said that Gat got a yellow card for back talking the ref in preseason?
Good. That's great.
It was someone we interviewed. I can't remember if it was Dover or Vitiello, but yeah. Saying like, oh yeah, Gat, he's going to be a handful. Like he's so.
I think that my issue with it was I definitely think it was a foul. I think that Kenny's reaction and then the dive back and holding the face and like. The whole thing, just somebody was going to get a call somewhere. I think what's frustrating is anytime you go back and watch any of the USL highlights, it's typically like goals. That's all you see. Like you go hunting for stuff like this and like it's not there. The highlights from this game showed the foul 3 times. Like they showed it as many times as they showed Cicerone's goal. Like they just kept showing it on replay.
By the way, we need to talk about Cicerone's goal too. We have
no, we'll get to that. So there was that, and then my second beef was with it was it happened, and the ref jumped in, and then immediately walked away, and I started counting from the point that the ref like stopped play to when he actually pulled out a red, and it was 40 seconds.
I think that's good refereeing.
But hold on. I get it if you're like thinking about it and you're considering what's going on and all of that. But in the meantime, there's this tussle between both teams and there's nobody in the middle of it.
Mike, that's not his job to break it up. That's not his job to break it up.
Then what is his job?
is to call to eject players when they need to be ejected.
Hold on. Like 15 minutes later, when Barrera does a like slow fall elbow to the face on Dikwa, immediately the ref jumps in and pulls Barrera aside to protect him and make sure nothing happens. So like what is the standard here? Are you going to protect the players, or are you going to just let chaos ensue and then you come in with a straight red 40 seconds after the play is over?
Which, by the way, Barrera doesn't get anything for that.
Barrera got nothing.
And he like straight up did a harsher foul, I think, than what Forbes did. And he got the protection from the ref and nothing. But yeah, I do hear what you're saying though, Kevin. Like I didn't have an issue with him taking his time and like in a situation where he's getting surrounded by all the Hounds players, all the Hartford players. Like it was a heated situation. So him backing away to get the players away from the foul and like kind of like I can kind of understand that. It wasn't so much the time it took. It was just the fact that it didn't look like I don't know. Well, obviously I think it was the wrong call, period. So
yeah, I agree.
And it's violent conduct, right? Like that was looking on the site, it says violent conduct. Isn't that like a 3-game ban if it's violent conduct? It's not just like missing 1 game. I might be wrong there. But if Forbes is out now for 3 games because he walked backwards and accidentally stepped on a guy, that's no.
That is really annoying. I mean, you looking it up is a step further than what I know about it. But my intuition, my gut feeling would say that unless the USL comes out or the ref puts in a match report or something saying that, okay, like explicitly that was the reason for the red card, I feel like naturally it's 2. But I feel like other than that, if the USL comes out and like makes this a ruling, then 3, that'd be really bad.
Yeah.
So that was we sort of talked a little bit about the red.
Really frustrating. Yeah, because I feel like that's, I don't know. I think as a fan, you always remember the times that it happens to your team and not when it like happens to other teams because we don't watch other teams or whatever. But it feels like we get caught by that kind of crap a lot.
It was his birthday. I'm just saying. Give the guy a break. Come on. He wants to step on an ankle. I want to step on an ankle.
What is the thing? Like his feet were right around his feet. And he was just getting like surrounded by everyone. Like, what do you want him to do? And like this, yeah. Really annoying.
So that happened. We talked a little bit about Barrera just sort of slow falling elbow into Dikwa. The other foul, and then I promise we'll get to Cicerone's goal because I do want to talk about it. The other foul that's controversial is the foul that led directly to Hartford's goal. And I apologize, we had like video of this that we were going to show, but there's no audio, so that's no fun for our podcast listeners. So next week we'll try to have video clips that we can interject, and it'll be great, but not this week. So anyway, basically it was Josh Gatt against Martinez, battled down just outside the box. Gatt essentially wins the ball, like knocks it away from Martinez. Martinez takes him down, like as neither one of them have the ball, Gatt tries to get back to the ball, and Martinez falls and then takes Gatt down. And it was a call against Gatt, which gave them the set piece, which they immediately scored off of. And so, I mean, I feel like a broken record because it seems like every time we do these shows during the season, it's like, well, the officiating wasn't great. And we've just spent the past, it feels like 20 minutes talking about crappy officiating. But this was just another scenario where I feel like you just kind of have to live with it, but acknowledge that it wasn't great.
This one's a little bit, so like I'm upset by it because I do think that was, if anything, a foul against Gatt, not committed by Gatt. So like I don't feel like that was fair at all, but I will say that like, yeah, they got a free kick outside the box. Like you have to defend those. And so like, I'm not exactly saying like they handed that, like, it wasn't like it was a PK in the box and like, it was, that I would be a lot more upset by it, but still it is very frustrating to like get that goal early on, that beautiful goal, which we will talk about, but then
that's like the tease for the whole episode.
We want to end on something good, not, this crappy stuff right here. But yeah, it was, what minute was the goal? It was the 90th plus 1. So yeah, 1 minute to stoppage time to have that happen. And it's just like, it's frustrating. And
look, I got to give Hartford credit. It was a good goal. Like, I think Kilwine was right on the back of the guy who ended up flicking it. Vitiello came out, and had the ball not been flicked, he would have had his hands on it, and it was just the flick that did it. Kev, you're making a face. You don't think it was a good goal?
No, it was a good goal for Hartford.
You think it was bad goalkeeping?
Yeah.
That's what you...
Yeah. I mean, look, just because we hold Vitiello to such a high standard. Like, you know,
Have you been listening to this episode?
He's great. He's a lovely human being, and he won the Golden Glove last year, and we know how good he can be. And so I think that was just the frustrating part, is to come for it the way he did. Just it felt like he shouldn't have come for it. I know that's easy for me to say as I sit on my couch and watch the game, but yeah.
Fair enough.
I mean, he's making the assumption that they're not going to get to it, and the ball's going to just fly cleanly. He's going to punch it, and everything's fine. And he just misjudges it, and it ends up like how it just goes over his hands. Literally, he just would have stood there, would have like hit him in the face. Like he wouldn't have had to move. And I know hindsight's 20/20, but I'm just. You want your keeper to win you points. You want your keeper to.
I get that. I think I also want a keeper who's proactive rather than reactive. And had that flick not happened, he would have shut down the play right there. It would have been over. So
I want a keeper that saves goals.
You want a keeper that's a keeper.
I'm sorry, Danny, if you're listening.
No, look,
we're allowed to criticize.
Yeah,
I love him.
Other than the time wasting, and apparently Kevin thinks that goal was easy to save, which I kind of disagree with. But yeah, other than those two things,
you know what we need to do? We need to set up a not like a photo shoot, but like a video shoot when Kev's in town, where it's Kevin in goal and Vitiello taking shots like that, and just like see how it goes. That
keeps on hitting him in the face. It's kind of weird.
Why does he hit him in the face? That would be genius. We gotta make that happen.
He can podcast for it.
That's right.
He would do a better job than I would.
He probably would. Yeah. Let's talk about the goal. So we scored, Russell Cicerone scored, I think it was the 41st minute. The Hounds had a number of chances up to that point, a lot of back and forth play. Kev, you mentioned Dixon, Williamson were all sort of involved in the play, a lot of good passing, ball movement, all of that. This play basically came off of a clearance from Kilwine, who Williamson just sort of flicked it forward, and Cicerone.
It was a really good flick.
It was a good flick.
Yeah.
And Cicerone one-timed it into the upper 90. And I don't want to say that he made it look easy, but he kind of made it look easy, which is really exciting, I think, for the future of. We said last week, especially with the forwards, they didn't touch the ball enough for us to really get a sense of who these guys are. And I think we got to see a lot more of who they are this week. And if Cicerone can sort of stroke the ball like that, I think the Hounds are in a really good spot heading out the rest of the season.
Yeah, my only thing with it is he has a tendency, it seems, to go missing in games and not be active and not be in the middle of play a lot. But I mean, yeah, that finish, because it's not just even crap players can score a goal and like, that hits off a posted stamp, off the post and in. The fact that it shows to me that he's a very good technical player is he had the confidence and the ability to take it first time, to let the ball roll, to open his body up and to put it where he put it. It wasn't like he just put his head down and smashed it and hoped. It was great. I mean, and Williamson's flick, it wasn't just him winning a header. You could see he knew where he needed to put it. He directed it in his path and perfect weight. Cicerone didn't have to make a touch, and it was a very good goal for all the build-up play that we had in the first half, and for all the, I'll call them half chances, because really it didn't. All the chances we did create, and it was a lot, and we were active in their box. We never really had, I think, at least in my opinion, a lot of clear-cut chances. But for all the buildup that we had, to score from a long ball that Williamson wins a header off of, and Cicerone does what he does, yeah, it was a really good goal, and the celebration was great too.
And like that goal, like where he was able to place it, it was just I'm trying to think of the last time I actually saw a goal like that in the Hounds squad. As far as like, it just was awesome to see, and yeah, the run of play of it, and I thought, I mean, obviously Cerrone had a great game, but I thought Williamson did pretty good as well.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty satisfied with them both. I know there were some questions after the Tampa game, but yeah, I'm pretty satisfied.
I really like them as a front three. I mean, and the fact that Dequa came on and played as well as he did, and if Josh Gatch just can yell at the ref every game, I'd start him the way he does. So yeah, I mean that's definitely the position where we have the most depth, and yeah, but I want to see all three of them start again.
I think the interesting thing to me is when Cicerone scored, it looked just like I don't want to say like a rudimentary goal, but it was the first time that I thought like, wow, like that was clearly placed. And it was I think, Kev, you mentioned it. Like, I think most other goals, it just feels like, we're either smashing it or doing something, sort of hitting it as hard as we can and hoping the goalie isn't going to reach it. And in this case, that's not what's going on. He clearly just placed it. So
I heard
that's a good goal.
I think I'm trying to think where I read it. Oh yeah. And so on Facebook, there's the Riverhounds supporters group, and legendary Paul White, which you guys might not know, but he's very well known in that group. After every game, he leaves like a giant recap of the game and like his thoughts on the game, and they're always really insightful. But yeah, so Paul White, he left the comment for this last game and talked about how Lily said that he did not want big giant forwards this year. He wanted more finesse players and players that were going to be able to weave the ball up and like more not style's the wrong word, but just more finesse, more skilled players and less like kind of bruisers type. And so that's one of the reasons why we got the changes we got this year. And I feel like you saw it in that first half, especially that Cicerone goal. You saw what he was talking about, what he was wanting, and that's why it's so unique. But the second half, it felt like we kind of reverted back to the way we were playing before. And it was like you saw that new style for a whole half, and then it's like, all right, well, now go back to the old style. And that's what's kind of frustrating, because we got, a taste of that new style, and it's like, oh, this is fun. I like this. Let's do this more. And then it's like, oh, nope, back to okay, cool. Like, and we don't have the players that can do the old style right now because we invested in these players that have more of the finesse style.
Yeah. Real quick, I think, Josh, you had mentioned it sounds like some people are trying to leave messages or comments on Twitter. Unfortunately, it looks like those aren't coming through to our chat. So if you click over to the YouTube feed, you guys can leave comments and questions in there. And as we mentioned, anybody who leaves a comment or question will automatically be entered to our drawing here at the end of the episode, where we will give away one of Hugh Roberts' Backyard Footy tees, which proceeds from that, as we had mentioned, go towards his Footy's Got You charity that promotes awareness for the economic crisis in the Charlotte area. So make sure that you head over to YouTube, join the conversation there, and let us know what you think. Lots of great stuff coming in. Jesse A. Left a message here that said, remember that Bob always has a top keeper in the league every season. So I do think that, to Jesse's point, that a lot of this is going to get worked out. And I think that sort of helps segue into our next game. We have obviously our home opener, so huge game. Highmark Stadium this Saturday, 7 p.m. against Charlotte Independence. Charlotte are coming off a 3-0 win against the Battery. Guys, we're not going to have Kenny. So what do we hope to see from the Hounds here? Keep in mind that last year when Kenny went down, and I want to say it was to Hartford, that we were all like, oh, gloom, like we're done. Like, Kenny's our best player. There's no way we're going to, do anything from this. And I want to say the game immediately after, and again, we caught a lot of flack because people are like, oh, you're saying Kenny's crap. We are not saying that Kenny is crap, but we moved Ryan James into sort of that holding mid and opened up that 3 midfield forward with Mertz and Griffin and Velarde that just went gangbusters against whoever it was that we played. So I think that this is an opportunity to sort of see, do you start a Velarde? Does a Perez get more time? How do we go about this? So, Kev, I'll start with you to talk about sort of the team side of things, and Josh, obviously, feel free to chime in, and then I want to talk a little bit about the game atmosphere as well.
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think Dixon, Williamson, and Cicerone has done anything to warrant not starting this next game, which kind of forces you into playing them as a front three. And I wouldn't expect them or want them to kind of, one of them to drop in the midfield or one of them to play as as a winger or something. So I think for me, until something starts going off the rails, I would continue to play a front three. And then it's only, so he's already done a 5-2-3 before that ideally turns into something like a 3-4-3, but to be honest, it hasn't been. It's a straight swap. Forbes drops and Velarde Perez comes in. I don't know. It worries me because to me, it felt like that was a really similar to how my feelings on the front three. I think that midfield three of Wharton, Forbes, and Griffin are really well balanced. There are multiple times where, Kenny sits in the middle, and I know I bang on about this, but with his style of play, I don't want him to be sprinting all over the field, closing things down. I want him to be the maestro in the middle, kind of controlling everything. Wharton and Griffin have legs on either side of him, and are a bit more industrious. That's a bit damning them with fake praise a bit, because both Griffin and Wharton can be productive going forward. But so I think if you're gonna, with Wharton and Griffin in there, I mean, Velarde feels right. I think Velarde has a bit more technical ability than either of those two, and can maybe pick a pass, not to the level that Kenny can, obviously, but few can. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. I like the shape. I want to see us continue to be aggressive, especially for this next game, being at home and what we have Loudon. I don't even know.
Charlotte.
Geez, yeah, I know we've been talking about it. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. It's been a long week. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. So I would want to see us, continue to be aggressive in that way. And I don't think we're gonna, unless he really sorts out, getting the wing backs higher and a back three this week in training. Yeah.
So real quick. So Steve brought up in the chat, he's saying that without Kenny, is Rivera the player to be in front of the back four to clean up behind a creative player like Griffin? I think that might be Wharton. Like, do you have Wharton drop back and then you have Griffin and Velarde in front of him? Or Josh, do you have any thoughts on what you might like to see there?
That's why I was just wondering, like, do we change the whole formation up top because of Kenny not being there, or do we just do a swap out? And like, if we do a swap out, are we talking like Velarde? Like, who would you expect to swap out for Kenny then? And if that's the case, like, is it worth trying to do, Kenny Light or whatever you want to call it, the Wish version of Kenny, or do you actually like change the formation to figure that out?
Well, I guess quickly off of Steve's point, I think that's the issue though, is Kenny wasn't just cleaning up, right? I mean, like, he was the one who initiates transition. He's the one who can get on the ball and make things happen. I don't think Rivera is that player. I do think Rivera is, and Rivera isn't Ryan James. I mean, but Ryan James can do a lot more than what I'm about to say. But I think initially Ryan James came into that midfield in that position as someone with energy, who knew how to be defensively, on point, how to tactically be defensive in that position and do the cleanup role. He ended up adding a lot more. He ended up scoring goals and all that. I'm not convinced Rivera can turn defense into attack. I'm not convinced, Rivera has that ability. I am convinced he has the energy for it. So I don't know.
Do you know? Here's what I think is going to happen. I called the Todd Wharton thing last week. Here's what I think is going to happen this week. I think that Danny Griffin's going to drop back and play the Kenny role, which leaves a bit of a gap in terms of that attacking midfielder. So I think in return, you have Danny sort of sitting right in front of the D, and then I think you have a Louis Perez and potentially a Velarde in front of him as like the energy and legs to run all over in front and cause havoc. And they let Danny take a shot at directing the team just from a little bit further back. And I don't know how I feel about that, because I feel like Danny does a good job of creating chaos further up the field. Like there were a couple times in this game where he picked up the ball and dribbled against three guys to like try to draw a foul, and like, he mixes it up a bit. But I think that might be what we see.
I think we're going to see a back five, and that's kind of frustrating to me. But I think he's just going to
soccer for the home crowd.
I think he's just going to drop the midfield player. The first game of the season, it was Griffin and Forbes next to each other in the midfield too. I think he's just going to do Griffin and Wharton next to each other, and then just play the same back five that he did before. So in that way, I mean, in a lot of ways, Steve is right in calling, Rivera kind of coming in for Forbes, but I think it's just going to be in a different position. It's not going to be what I think. I don't think it's going to be a straight swap.
Just tactically, in their last game, Charlotte, they started in what looks like a 3-2-4-1. And so when that actually sort of morphed, they had a lot of bodies in the midfield. So I'm a little bit worried if we only got two people in the midfield that we're just going to get completely overrun, even if they just have one forward up top. So we'll see. It'll be an interesting challenge for Lily. And I think, Josh, to the point of we want to have an entertaining game. It's definitely at home. You got to balance that. And I feel like over the years, Lily has understood that. Like he knows, like we got to put on a show for the people at home. So we got to come out swinging. So I don't know.
I think the players understand that too. Even though a lot of our players are new this year, so they weren't on the team last year during COVID and not being able to play in front of a real crowd, I do think that kind of weighs in. Like a lot of these players haven't played in front of a home crowd, even if it's not the Pittsburgh home crowd, in over a year. And it's like a situation where I'm wondering how much that will be weighing on them, and not so much weighing on them, but the ability to actually get them to, put in that extra. Maybe they won't be walking during Vidielo's slow crawl to get a kick going. Like maybe they'll actually be running to their places.
Yeah. So Josh, that sort of segues into, what's going on for the home game? Anything that the Steel Army is planning here that you can sort of tease out for us?
There's things. I mean, there's the possibility of a TIFO. I don't want to spoil anything there, but a couple of guys that are leaving comments right now are actually the ones tracing it as we speak. So so that's going on. We also have so it's weird because like restrictions are being lifted, as we know, and that kind of stuff. But the Hounds are keeping this game the way that they originally planned. So it's going to be like 1,000 and maybe a little bit more than 1,000 attending. So they're not doing like half capacity or full capacity.
Although it sounds like the team president came out and said that they were going to be announcing something tomorrow about potentially having a few more tickets, but like it's not going to be full capacity. Everybody show up and
no. Yeah. And like even if they were to say like full capacity, all of a sudden like they have a day to sell, like not a day, but they have a couple of days to sell tickets, and that's not how it's going to work. Like you need to build up to that. So like they're not going to be able to sell that many tickets anyway, even if they were to open it up all of a sudden. But also because of that, like we've already been told, like, hey, we're not going to like allow tailgate this game. So like we're not expecting like a full on like, hey, we're back, y'all. Like so we're not having a tailgate, and people are gonna hang out behind their cars and not like share food and share beers and that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a little bit different. But it's going to be closer to having it back to normal than we've ever had in the last year and whatever it's been. So there's a possibility of having some sort of semblance of normal. So that'd be kind of nice.
Good. Let's talk a little bit. We talked a little bit about formation and what do we do without Kenny. Let's do some predictions. Jesse asked, who do you think will be the player of the game this week? So we haven't even talked about like what we expect from the Hounds. I think if I had to guess, I would say that all of our prediction would just be more progress. I think obviously it's the first home game. We would love to see a win. We talked before the first game and we said, how many points do we think we'll have after 5 games? And Liz said 6. And we were like, no. And we're currently 2 games in and have 1 point. So 6 is a very good reality. I mean, that could happen. But does anybody feel like it's like 3 points or bust at this point? Or are we just trying to see more progress? Let's start there, and then we'll get to Jesse's question about player of the week.
Who do you want to go first? I'll go first. All right. Okay. I'm not saying 3 points or bust, but I do think you gotta, like, this has to be a win, right? Like, if there's a moment, like, you can't go 3 games, no wins, and the first home game in over a year. No, like this, you're shooting for a win for this game, and I feel like anything less will be disappointment. Like the other game, like last week, I was like, man, I really hope we win. That'd be nice, but like I wasn't feeling like, oh, we need a win. But this one feels like, come on, we need a win. And not because I think our whole season is going to be down the drain if we don't win. It's not going to be a time to panic if we don't win. But like, this is the game you show up for. This is a game that you put it all out there for. So like, I'm expecting a win. I'm going to be very disappointed if it's not. Because yeah, Charlotte had a good game last week, 3-0. But like they lost 3-0 against Tampa, just like we did. So it's not like there's a magic bullet of a team here we should be scared of. Like we can beat this team, and I'll be disappointed if we don't.
Kev?
Yeah, no, exactly the same as what Josh just said. Because I think the other thing is, if we have aspirations to finish, top of our division, top of our conference, winless in your first 3 does not bode well for that. And so, we keep saying, I just want to get to these 5 games. Part of the message behind that is like, get through it and get some points as well. Like we can't just lose every game. And yeah, this is an important one for all the reasons that Josh just said. And that, yeah, I think not getting a win in the first 3 feels like, not only are you just it doesn't feel like we're just starting from 0. It feels like, okay, now we have to run up a hill while pushing a boulder. And yeah, it's not a great feeling.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's doom and gloom, especially if we put on a good show and perform well and all of that. I still am in the I want to see progress phase. And I think based on what we saw moving from last week to this week, I am hoping to see even more progress. I'm hoping to see more gelling on the back line. I'm hoping to see, some more well-connected passes and plays from the midfield to the offense. And obviously there's a little bit of concern without Kenny that you sort of lose that a little bit. But again, this is an opportunity for people to step up. So yeah, I'm not going to be upset one way or another, especially if we're sort of robbed. I don't want to say via the ref, because there's a lot of things that happened in this last game, but some of it you have to chalk up to that. So based on that, let's go back to Jesse's question, which I asked like 5 minutes ago. Who do you think will be the player of the game this week, Kev? Who's going to be the Hounds player of the game?
I mean, Dixon looked great, I think, for me against Hartford. The thing I was thinking about while watching the game, too, that I didn't mention already, there's a certain I was watching the highlights of, I think it was, sorry, Josh, Sheffield United versus Everton, and
yeah, that's okay. It's fine. It's whatever. I don't care.
Well, but the reason why I'm bringing it up is because while I was watching the highlights, I heard something like coming from the manager that I've like never heard in any game, and the guy from the sideline was just yelling over and over, body language. He's like, body language, and it didn't really make sense to me. I thought that was kind of weird, and then I thought about it a bit more. And okay, I kind of get it, and I think there's something to that. Meaning, I like as a fan watching the team play, you can tell when players feel on it, and when they feel up for it, just by how they move, the kind of sweat in their touch, and how they kind of drop a shoulder and do this and do that. To me, Dixon had that in spades. He was just how he moved, where he sprinted, when he didn't, how he was looking around, how he was, telling people to move and to press up, and how he dropped back, and just in the right moments, how he looked so relaxed, and in the right moments, how he looked up for it. He looked on it for me, on top of like playing well. So I would expect that to continue. My prediction is Dixon.
Josh, who's your prediction?
I mean, I know who I want it to be. I want it to be Cicerone because I want all the goals. So I want it to be like, obviously a forward, and I want more pretty goals, like especially in front of the home crowd, in front of the Steel Army. Like, yeah, that's what you want to see. So I'm hoping Cicerone is that player and like really shows up and makes a splash and wows the crowd.
I'm gonna say that I hope that my man of the match is Danny Griffin, because I feel like for a lot of the connection to happen between the defense and offense, it's going to have to flow through Griffin, which, again, our goal this week didn't come from that. But I feel like if Griffin is active and on the ball, then we have a better shot at creating something that looks magical. But if Griffin is doing that, then I feel like the man of the match is going to end up being one of the forwards, because they're going to put away something that just looks amazing. So I see Griffin as sort of like the unsung hero of the game. If he's playing well, then we're going to do well.
I will say, as an honorable mention, like if we were betting on this and like long odds, I would expect it, like 2 or 3 times a year, Jordan Dover out of nowhere comes up and just has an incredible game. When you need him to, and when we don't expect him. I mean, I'm thinking a few times in Louisville. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dover comes up, gets 2, puts in 2 perfect balls, gets 2 assists, strong defensively. He's a player that his levels never really drop, and on occasion he can just have a brilliant game.
Yeah. Adam Marks said, bold prediction, Williamson goal and assist this weekend. Bob clearly had his eye on him, and he's looked superb, lively so far. I think he buries one and creates another. I could see that happening too.
He looks sharp, yeah.
Yeah, appreciate the shout there, Adam. So that's what we think. Obviously, you guys let us know what you think about the game. We appreciate everybody that's here, taking part in the chat right now. But the chat isn't over. We've still got a whole week before the game starts. So make sure you let us know what you think on Twitter and Facebook and all of that, and we'll share your thoughts there as well. Guys, anything else?
If they share their thoughts outside of the show, do they still get a chance to win a Backyard Footy t-shirt?
They don't, because I've been keeping track of everybody who's commenting inside of this COVID mask. I've got some names written down. I know. It's what it is. So I'm going to draw a name here in a minute. But before I do that, I wanted to ask you guys, do you guys have any other comments or thoughts about this game before we pick our winner here?
I just want to hear chants again at Highmark, and it to feel like a game. Like, even if it's 1,000, we've had plenty of games in the rain and the snow, and that only had 1,000 people. So it's just gonna be a less attended game, which we've had those. So I'm excited for that.
That's one thing I said early on in this game was, even though it was Hartford fans, man, it was good to hear drums and people yelling and screaming in the stadium again. So yeah, for sure. It's going to be a fun one, regardless of what happens.
Any clue on announcers?
Yeah, unfortunately, it is been official that Gaika and Paul and Gene are not going to be back due to cost concerns, as far as not knowing for sure how the season's going to go with attendance and sales. They didn't want to take the risk of putting too much money in there, so they're cutting costs by not having announcers local.
At least there's a reason.
No, I mean, I business wise, I understand it. It just sucks so bad. Like, and sad part is, I don't even listen. Like, I'm at the games. I'm pretty much at every game. So it's like, it's not even really for that, but it's like knowing that these games are gonna be on local television, like 21 The Point, or 22 The Point. Like, you want those games to be announced by people who know the Hounds and who can make a good impression for the people watching who might come to the next game. So it does suck.
I'm much more willing to mute the game now, and just watch it than if Gaika and was doing
Listen, we floated the idea of, is there a way to stream the game and do our own audio and potentially try to get Geika and Gene and Paul to like do it on the side? The problem is like
we ain't got that money.
Well, I was gonna say raising the money to do that is like not gonna happen. And then technology wise, trying to do a stream that isn't delayed for some people, and so you're hearing the audio, and it just becomes like a whole thing. So I think we could do it if it was like a radio broadcast almost, but unless you're in your car, you're going to be watching the game or you're going to be there. So like doing a radio broadcast isn't great. But if anybody has any ideas, let us know, because we are open to trying to make this happen, because we love those guys. We've had them on the show. So like we want to get them back on the air, and anything we can do to help make that happen, we're going to try to do it. So if you have ideas, let us know. All right, gentlemen, I think it's time. Let's pick our winner of the Backyard Footy T-shirt.
That doesn't sound good. Sorry.
Don't do that. Don't do that. As a reminder, all of the proceeds, or at least some of the proceeds, go towards Hugh Roberts, who will be here this weekend. So if you're at the game, make sure you say hello. He still loves all the fans in Pittsburgh. He's a fantastic dude.
I'm pretty sure it's all the proceeds too. I think I read that.
Well, whatever. The proceeds go towards his Footy's Got You charity that promotes awareness of the economic crisis in the Charlotte area. So thank you to everybody who participated and left comments. Even if we didn't put them up on the screen, we saw them. And like I said, I have this super sanitary COVID mask with all the names written down. And I am now reaching into the mask, and I am pulling out the winner, which is Burger Brand. So Burger Brand, there's my chicken scratch. Congratulations. Thank you for commenting.
You worked hard for that shirt. You really did.
You did. Listen, Burger Brand's been in the past few chats with us, and he's always contributing. So we really appreciate that. Burger Brand, hit us up on Twitter or Facebook, DM us your info, and we will get your size and your choice and your address, and we will ship that to you ASAP. But thank you again to everybody who joined us live, who always join us live. We really appreciate it. A lot of the comments spurred some good conversation, and we'd love to keep doing this and have more of this, where you guys participate and share your thoughts, because like we said, this is the water cooler where everybody hangs out, not just the three of us or the six of us if you look at the rest of the Mongols team. So thank you, everybody. We really appreciate it. Guys, any closing thoughts?
No, I'm just ready. I'm ready to get back in the stadium. Let's do this.
Yep. It's going to be like 90 degrees and raining on Saturday.
I mean, if it's not raining, is it really a Hounds game? I mean, that's the question.
Yeah. So wear your poncho. But otherwise, go Hounds. Thank you again, everybody, for listening. Make sure you head over to mongols.com, click on support the show to become a Patreon follower. We've been talking about what it is that we're going to do this season, and somehow we've gone 6 seasons of doing the show, and we've never made a scarf. So maybe it's time to make a scarf to add to this wall and Josh's wall. And Kevin, you can hang it up with those little what are they, paper clips that are on the string behind you?
Yeah, that's when Riley doesn't have her prints up, but yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we'll do a scarf. If you think a scarf would be cool, let us know, and maybe we'll make that happen. Weekly reminder that Black Lives Matter, and if we get a scarf, it will most likely be through our partner, which I'm scrambling to get the image. Here you go, and that is Roughneck Scarves, official scarf supplier to USL, MLS, and US Soccer. Custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. Tired of the same old uniforms and cookie cutter templates from Nike and Adidas? Looking for a completely custom kit for your youth club, Sunday league squad, adult, or even pro team? Icarus FC can help you create the custom kit of your dreams at an affordable price. Let them help you design your new custom kit today at icarusfc.com. Looking for more great USL news? Oh, I didn't click the button. Wait, there it is. Looking for more great. Oh, it's completely over, Kevin. There's no chance. Looking for more great USL news? Head over to bgn.fm, where we've got over 100 fans that are writing and podcasting about the beautiful game. Lots of great features that went up on the site this week. Check them out at bgn.fm. For those of you who aren't watching this insanity, you're totally missing out. So apologies to those who are listening on the podcast feed. Otherwise, thanks, everybody. We will talk to you very, very soon.
Cheers.